Perfect. So, welcome to this first live of my channel Germany for Newcomers. I'm very excited to do it today because it's the first time that I'm testing this format with Cedric together. And so, yeah, my name is Sandra and I had launched the channel Germany for Newcomers because I want to support people who are thinking about moving to Germany or expats who already live in Germany with concrete tips about Germany. So on, for example, how to find a job or how to use an e-scooter in Germany. So on very concrete topics. And so in today's live stream, I want to know more about how it is to really concretely move to Germany, because the thing is that I'm a German native. But Cedric is not, so he's a foreigner, and so I'm very curious to learn more from him. And with these words, I'm handing over to Cedric.
Thank you, Sandra. So, as you just mentioned, I'm also living in Germany, but I'm French, so I'm not native from the country. However, I've been living in Germany for a couple of years now, so I feel it's a good synergy now because you are a native speaker and a native from Germany, and I'm a foreigner, but also from a neighbor country, the European Union, and we both live in Germany, so it can be interesting to share our view on different perspectives about the country, both for me as a foreigner living in Germany and both for you as a German who also interact a lot with foreigners, so to have both perspectives.
I think what is also interesting to know about France and Germany is that, yes, it's neighboring countries, but in the end, we have a very different mentality overall. So quite different spirits and quite different mindsets. So yeah, that's also an interesting perspective because you could think, yeah, it's Europe. So we are all the same, but in the end, no, we are quite different.
It's true. Maybe I just say a word also about why I'm here in Germany. Mm-hmm. So anyone watching the video will also understand my situation there. So I studied in France where I was doing my bachelor, and after my bachelor I decided to do a year of Erasmus abroad, and I decided to do it in Germany. So I moved in Germany initially for my year of Erasmus, so for 1 year of study. But I really like the country there, so I decided to even subscribe to a local university. And when I subscribed to it, then it was a 2 years master because I've done the first 3 years of the bachelor. And at the end of my master, I had to do an internship. And because I did part of my study in France and part in Germany, I thought it would be good to end my study in Germany by doing the final internship in Germany. And that's what I did. So I found a job there in Germany. And after my internship, I got a contract. This was in 2017, so it has been now 8 years. And since then, I've been living in Germany and working for this company. So that's the reason why I'm French but living in Germany.
Mm-hmm. And why in the first place did you decide to come to Germany? Did you also have the option of other countries? And then, why did you choose Germany?
So for me personally, back in the day, so I worked in 2017, I moved in 2015 for the study, and there was multiple reasons for. The first one, I'm from a region in France that is not necessarily close to Germany. So I'm not from the north of France, where sometimes you have Alsace, which is close to Germany, and you have the culture that is very like for like. I'm more from another part where we have no connection with Germany. And I thought that it would actually be interesting to move to a country where I know nothing, because I knew a bit about Spain, I knew a bit about Italy, about the UK. I was aware of this. But one of the main country in Europe with also other reasons, which had a good economy, good job opportunity, was Germany. And I didn't know anything about the country. I didn't know anything about the culture. And I was thinking, let's challenge myself. Let's go there and move without any knowledge. I didn't learn German at school. I didn't have any relative, no friends, nothing. I just went for the challenge, and I went because Germany has a good reputation overall. So I thought doing study there might be more prestigious than doing it in some other country where it's more seen as relaxed. That was
And you mean a good reputation, like with regards to, for example, work, or in general?
Yes, so I didn't know much. That's also the thing. So back then I thought, well, I don't know this country. Let's discover it. It didn't have a bad reputation, I would say, and it was seen as a country where people work hard, where the study is a bit more difficult, where you have more opportunity afterwards. So it's more in this regard that for me, it had a good reputation. If you say it around, I've done my study in Germany, or if you say I've done it in Italy or Spain, it doesn't have the same flavor. Germany look more tough, and I think it is in some case, but I can come back on that later.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's true that when you say in Europe you do Erasmus, a lot of people, they say they go to Spain, for example, also because they have a lot of beaches and attractive nature. And it's not exactly the case for Germany in that regard. And can you tell me more about your studies? So, because you said that you first arrived to Germany as a student and only afterwards you joined a company. So how was your experience as a student in Germany?
Yes, so that's a good question, because my study in Germany was in 2 phases. I came here as an Erasmus student, so that was the first phase. And Erasmus is more of a light year. You go to discover the culture. Of course, your study is still for 6 months or 1 year, but at the end, you know that after 1 year, you go back to your home country, and that's it. It's nothing more than this. However, after moving to Germany, after 2 or 3 weeks at the very beginning of the program, so after 2 or 3 weeks is enough to get to know the other Erasmus student and have good connection. But after 2 or 3 weeks, my university contacted me and told me that potentially I have a choice to make. I can either do my German Erasmus year, like it's intended to do, or they offer a program for international students. I just mean they offer a program, international program, so it's open for international students, but it's also open for German. But then it's not really an Erasmus year. It will request me to subscribe to the university to really have to be a student of the university and not just an Erasmus coming there. Yeah. And they said if I subscribe to the university, then I can decide for my Erasmus which class I want to attend, and I should make this class match to the study that is expected in Germany. And this was a big decision to make. Either I do 1 year in Germany, I go back to France, and that's it. I spend a good experience. Or I already decide to subscribe to the German university, make all my Erasmus course matching this German university so I can follow the real program. But then it's way more difficult because you end up in a class. I mean, you end up being a student also in Germany. So you have a diploma, you have and that's what I did. So at the end, most of the people I met the first 3 weeks, I was no longer with them because I really went into a class where half of my class were German and the other half were people who were really deciding to come and study in Germany. So it was no longer the Erasmus people who were there for 6 months, 1 year. I, of course, kept contact with them. But yeah, to answer back your question, how was it? It was very hard because I came, the first 2 or 3 weeks was light. I could really enjoy the country, enjoy the people. And after 3 weeks, I enrolled into the university and it became very difficult because the level in Germany was higher than what I was used to in France. And that's actually where we met. So we knew each other from the university time because when I moved in, we had the chance to know each other or to meet each other. And maybe that would be also interesting if you also explain how it happened that we know each other, and it will also explain why you are connected to the foreigner in Germany.
Yeah, that's true. In the first place, why do I even care about foreigners in Germany was that when I started to study, I decided to move away to another region, away from my parents to sort of start my life. And so I decided to move to another town and to move into a student residence. And since I felt quite lonely, even though I'm a German native, but I had issues to connect with other people from my studies, I was using this student residence as an opportunity to meet other people. And how did I do that? Because in the student residence, even like that, it's not so easy to get to know other people. I decided to do a voluntary service. So I was making internationals who moved in. I was doing the move-in, for these people in the end. So that's how I even got to know a lot of, international people who were moving into the student residence. So that's in the end how I met Cedric some years ago. So it was,
So you were the person who, when I moved to Germany, you were the person who gave me the key of my residence.
Exactly.
Because you were helping all the foreigners to settle.
Yeah.
And you have always been helping a lot on the foreigner who want to establish in Germany from some years ago already.
Yeah, it's true. Because the thing is, the people arrived and they often came from very far countries. Some of them, like there was a cooperation with South Korea. So a lot of people came from, Asia in the end. We also had a lot of people, for example, from European countries, so like Italy, France, Spain, or United States or South America. So it was very interesting to see all these people, to get to know their personal stories. And there were also lots of international cooperations that students could join. So a lot of courses were in English, so that was facilitating it. And by the way, because you said that you really studied at a German university and you were not in this Erasmus program anymore, were your courses in German or in English?
Yeah, so that was a bit the trick. It was mainly in English, like 95%. I had one class in German to learn German, actually. But it was, the program was in English. That's why I could also apply for it, because it was really an international master in Germany. So as I said, half of the people in my class were German who wanted to go international. So most of them were actually interested about South America, so South America. So they were doing this international study to then have the chance to go out of Germany. And for me, it was more the opposite. And other students, they joined the program to put a step into Germany and to then establish in Germany, or at least have some sort of connection to the country. So our class were very mixed in this regard. And because it was more of an international master, it was mainly in English. However, we had some level of German to reach. So the people who joined the program, they were in masters, so they were actually interested about Germany for some years. So when I stepped in, I was one student that I was speaking very poor German. I didn't speak any German, which was not the case because people around me, they already had a certain level in German. That's why they were in this program. So that was also adding a level of difficulty for me because I had to catch up with the program itself, but also with the language, where it was requested that by the end of the program, I have at least a certain level in German. Not too high, it was A2, but still it was mandatory to do that. So,
and was it easy or challenging for you to get the German A2 level?
Yes, so that's a good question. For me personally, it was difficult. It was difficult because I had, as I said, no background. Back then in France, I was studying Italian. So I had a bit of Italian, but German, I really arrived to the country. I didn't even know how to count to 3. And I'm serious. I really didn't know how to say 1, 2, 3. So it was also the appeal for me to go in the country where I really know nothing. But then I subscribed and they said, okay, now you need to reach A2 level, where you really start from zero. It was tough. And I also feel some people that are more easygoing when they learn a language. They can more easily learn it than the other. And I'm not part of these people. So for me, learning a language is really not easy. Yes, I tend to not be so concentrated when learning. So I had to really put extra focus. I had to study hard after class to get some level of German. And that would be actually a good point for me, because we are here talking about Germany. And for me, it was really expectation, something difficult, because I started moving to Germany, everyone will speak English and I will not even need to learn German at all. But I quickly realized that if you want to blend into the society, you need to at least have a level of German, at least A2 or A1.2, like a bare minimum, to at least try to say something in German. Because if you come and you immediately speak English to people when you do the supermarket, for example, or if you order a taxi or whatever situation you need to do, if you don't even try to speak German, then people will also not step toward you, because they feel you are not trying to do any effort, or you are just a tourist. But I feel this is valid for Germany, but also for other countries. You need to at least try to do the effort to learn the very basic of the language. What is your feeling when you had to interact with a lot of foreigners? Were most of them learning the language, or what was your thoughts on that?
So from my experience, I would say it was either there was like the group of people who already knew German when they arrived and they spoke it very proficiently. And then there was the other group of people who arrived like with 0 level, but who also were not interested in improving really. So I would say there was a mixture overall, especially at university, but it's true that once you really start to live here, and then especially for people who are not at university, but for example, who stay for an unlimited period of time, it's really important to learn German, because even if you speak English at work, it's not enough, because your colleagues will speak in German at some point. I mean, for me, what you said about this thing that people don't always speak English, I'm surprised. I cannot say it since I'm a native, so I never have a situation where someone speaks to me in English, because I speak German, so I cannot say. But I was thinking, or maybe it's because I live too much in bigger towns overall. My impression was always that everyone speaks English. Or maybe it's also like the impression from our generation. But I've been on holiday in France, and for example, in France, people really don't speak, or they don't want to speak English. And I have the impression in Germany it's different. But maybe it's also the more rural you go, the less they speak English.
Yeah, I think you have a point, especially in the context. Back then, we were both students, so the students around us were speaking English, obviously. And then the whole town, when you have different universities, the whole town is a bit more students. It has a vibe of having the student life and everything. So usually in some place in Germany, you can live very well not speaking German. But it's not necessarily the rurality, I would say. Like, of course, if you go in village, people will speak less German, but you also have some bigger towns that are not known for being student friendly, I would say, or they don't have big universities there. And if you go there, then they would speak less German, less English. It's my feeling. So in some town, you can go and people will not like, or they don't want to interact with you in English, which I will also understand. And this is especially true when you have appointments. So if you need to go to a doctor, or if you need to contact a lawyer, if you need to contact someone to help you with a tax, this kind of thing, you need to somehow have a basic level of German, because to have someone who switched perfectly in English, I find it difficult to find.
Yeah. And have there been some like concrete situations in your daily life now in Germany where it was really, where you had some issues even? For example, when you went to the doctor or to some other places where you didn't understand and people got mad even?
So yes, of course. I mean, even until today, I find the language is really a big barrier for a lot of foreigners who want to move to Germany, because you end up having your bubble where you live your life. You can be surrounded by expats, but then as soon as you need to face someone from the administration, or if you have a health problem, you can try to speak German, or you can speak English, but in both ways, it's not enough. If your German is not good enough, you cannot express in detail what you want to say. And even if the doctor can speak some word in English, you also want to be sure to fully understand what the doctor say and not miss any important points. And often I feel the profession in Germany, they don't even though they speak English, they don't feel comfortable to really do the whole appointment in English because they don't want to say anything wrong. We have this mindset in Germany that it has to be correct, and I feel a lot of Germans, they speak very well English, but they still don't want to say it because they don't want to make mistakes. Yes. And this can be hard emotionally because you end up speaking with people with either you speak in English and they don't really, they try their best, but they don't really want to make much effort in some case. Or you try to speak German, but then you feel that it's difficult to interact. But this will also be valid in other countries, I believe.
And has it happened to you that Germans were, for example, when you start to speak in German, they switch to English? Is that happening to you or not so much?
Almost never. And I sometimes hope that when I speak German, they realize I'm really struggling a lot and they would propose me to switch in English. But it's happening almost never. So now, less than 1 hour ago, I was at the dentist, and of course, I'm not even trying to speak English. I'm really trying to speak in German, but it's about your health, so you want to make sure you understand everything that is happening around you. And I was speaking with my broken German, and the dentist could definitely understand what I said, but saw that I struggled a bit, but didn't propose at any point to say a single word in English. Maybe she didn't know how to speak English, but she was like, okay, he has a broken German, but we can interact, it's enough. Yes, so it's you can survive like this, but then it's true that in some situation, I don't mind if someone speaks to me in English if it's really important, because if it's about your dentist appointment, you want to be sure that you understand what's the next step, if they're gonna remove your teeth or not.
Yeah. Maybe it's also that if you're in this job that it's maybe you could be even sued or something if you express yourself in another language and then there are some mistakes or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what would be your point of view as a native German? If someone speaks to you in German but struggle a lot, would you switch to English, or you would continue in German to encourage this person and show that you can understand him? What would be your point of view?
Yeah, so the thing is that I have also learned Italian and French in the past, and since I learn other foreign languages as well, I really don't like when people switch to English. I find it even, not nice if someone is doing that. So I would, if the person is really starting in German, I would always, also speak in German, and I would not start to speak in English. I find that rude in the end. So, yeah.
You will have the complete other mindset than me. So if someone speaks with a broken German, you will continue in German to encourage this
exactly.
person.
I would think it's encouraging for the person even. But I find it's also, I mean, that's another example. But for example, that's a bit, a different thing. But I've seen in Berlin, for example, that there are some places, for example, when you arrive and then the waiters speak to you in English. And they don't even know your nationality. And I find this is too much. But also, I don't live in Berlin, so I don't have maybe this spirit. But I find overall, if you're in the country, it's good to speak basic words, as we said. And it's important. But about you and your experience overall, I also wanted to know, so you arrived to Germany when you were a student, then you started to work. How was it overall, so both at university but also in the professional sphere? What do you think about the mentality, about how the German people act?
That's a difficult question, very broad. For me, working in Germany, so I did my internship in Germany after my study, and then I immediately work after my internship. So most of my professional life is actually in Germany. I've worked way more in Germany than I have worked in France or in other countries. But still, I had to work. I was doing every year summer job since I'm 16 years old. So I was working every summer, 2 months in different places. I had done internship in different places. And I also, in the company I'm working, it's a big one. It's a big company. So they also have some office in France. So I'm interacting a lot with some colleagues from other locations and France. and I realized the culture is very different. And for me, in Germany, I was really surprised about 2 points particularly. So one point for me was the punctuality. It's a bit cliche, but if you have a working contract in Germany that states that you should arrive at 9, or if you have a meeting that says you should start at 10, it has to be 10, and 10:01, it's already too late. And also, if you come too early, if you are here at 9:57, if you are 3 minutes before, it's also not so well seen. So this I still don't understand how the German do to really be punctual to the second. But here it's something that I find a little bit difficult because then it's less flexible. On the other hand, over the year, I understood that German are very punctual, and they really are careful about the time and not being late. But on the other hand, they also don't do extra hour, which is the second point for me, and that's something that was really a shock, especially working in France before. And I think it's also valid with most of the country in the world. When you work somewhere and you have to finalize some work, it's often well seen to stay a bit longer. And in Germany, I quickly understood, maybe it's not valid for every company, but I quickly understood that actually working longer was, first of all, not well seen. But second, it was even seen as bad behavior because it was simply showing that you don't manage to do your work in time. So even until today, it's something that is really shocked me, or not shocked me, but it's something that really is different from other area where I worked in the past. It was always well seen if you work extra longer. It shows that you are motivated and everything. In Germany, don't do that if you work in the bigger organization, at least, because working longer is just bringing a lot of negative things. So it shows that you don't do your work in time. It's also show for your colleagues, they will not appreciate, because then they realize, okay, we do our time, but this guy is always working longer. So it should not be the new expectation that everyone is working longer. So it's really not well seen. And that was a big difference between the work culture. What's your view on the work culture in Germany? Because you've also been working abroad, and I'm curious, what's your point of view?
Yeah, so I think the work culture, it's true. So I think it depends really on the workplace where you work, and more specifically, it depends on your boss. So how your boss is handling overall overtime, or what you not even what the boss necessarily says, but what you hear, what you guess, what you think. Like a bit, you can sense it, how your boss thinks about overtime. And I have had different experiences. So I think I've worked in places where overtime was also not well seen, where colleagues really left on time. And especially in Germany, it's important usually to leave on time on Fridays, because Germans usually start their weekend earlier, so they usually add overtime Monday to Thursday, and then Friday they finish. But I also had one job where I had a boss, and he was really staying late, and then it's kind of reflected on the whole team, so everyone stayed a bit late. But it's true that I did an internship in Belgium, and in Belgium it's true there were lots of international colleagues. And especially I had a French colleague who stayed very late, and it was really to show off to other colleagues. It was not necessarily that, they worked so long, but it was more a sign of, being engaged in your work overall. So I think, yes, it's true that overtime is not such of a positive characteristic, but it's true, it also depends. So for example, if you're a consultant, it's quite normal, for example, to work overtime, but I would say in general, yes, it's less important or less well seen. And what you mentioned also about punctuality, I wanted to add something, because it's true that punctuality is very important at the workplace. But I would say it's a cliche, but it's even part of a German DNA in the end, is to be punctual. And how do Germans end up punctual? It's because we really calculate all the eventualities. So for example, if you know that you have an appointment, or for example, if we think about the job context, you have a job interview, you calculate how do you get to the place. And then if it's with Deutsche Bahn especially, you take 1 or 2 trains earlier in order if there's something going on, then you're in advance. So for example, for me, it's not only the job, it's also in private life to be punctual when you see a family or friends. So usually what you do in order to be punctual, so you arrive 10 minutes more early, you walk a bit around, and then when it's really the time, then you enter the store, for example, to meet the person. So that's why I think you have the impression that Germans are always punctual. But the thing is we are too early, and then we seem to be punctual in the end.
So the German who is just arriving probably have walked around for 10 minutes randomly to be there in time.
Yeah, usually. And it's also true that, for example, even when you meet friends, it's quite normal that your German friends are in advance even. And it's normal. So if you say, let's meet at 3:30, your friend is there, it's 3:20. And it's normal overall.
Then you will also come at 3:20 as well? Or you will then pretend that you're not around and he will pretend he's not around and you still meet at 3:30?
No, I think it's true that I would, it depends on the case. So I would say if it's an official interview, like a job interview or something, an official meeting or appointment, then I would kind of walk around. But if it's to meet a friend, then you can be in advance and you can let the person know on WhatsApp that you're in advance. That's, overall. And
how long you have been working in Belgium, just out of curiosity?
I've been working for 6 months when I was still a student. And then afterwards, I started to work in Germany. So I have this 6 months foreign experience. And then now I have 5, 6, 7 years of work experience in Germany.
And who, as a native German, you worked in both countries. What do you think about the social life and integration when it comes to work? Did you manage to connect more in Belgium with your colleagues, or do you manage to connect more in Germany with your colleagues? Because you're from Germany, so it would be more easy for you to connect with German colleagues.
That's a difficult question. So when I worked in Belgium, I had some very nice colleagues that I met and that I connected with also on LinkedIn, so to keep the contact afterwards. But the thing is, it was I had a roommate, for example, who was from Belgium, but apart from this, I didn't have contact to real Belgian nationals. The contacts I had in Belgium were nice, but they didn't really sustain much afterwards, I would say. But in the moment, yes, I had some contacts, so it was overall easy, I would say. When I started to work in Germany, it was more challenging, yes, to really, sort of build a social network and even find some friends even. But I would say that depends again on the work situation for which company you work and also what's the age of your colleagues overall. So, for example, I used to work in a place where there were lots of more young people, and then we also ended up meeting after work in the end to discuss and to chill. And so I met a lot of young people there, but then in for another job, I didn't really have any closer contacts with colleagues, and that was quite sad overall. But it also depended on what the teams consisted of, so in which field they worked. I would say, for example, there were some software developers, and it was quite tough to get in contact with them. Yeah, I don't know how it's for you as a foreigner in Germany.
So I'm a foreigner in Germany, and I can easily connect to other foreigners in Germany. And difficult for me to connect with a local German, I would say. But the thing is, talking to all the foreigners living in Germany, some they live in Germany for 6 months, some they live for 20 years. Most of the people tend to say that it's difficult to connect with local. That's why I was curious about your answer. If also as a local you don't connect that much, and maybe it's just a German thing that you don't necessarily connect or hang hang out with other German in general. And then as a foreigner, we have the impression it's difficult to get German friendship. Not impossible, but difficult. But yes, for me, I have the impression that most of my circle is foreign people and not German.
Yeah, I can understand. But on the other hand, it's also, I think, when people already live here and they are established, they don't even think about like expats or people who move to Germany.
Yes.
It's not like they are not touched by this in the end.
Which I would understand, because when I was living in France, I had also 0 friends who were from Erasmus or who were from foreigner that were there recently and didn't speak French. Of course, I had some people who were non-French as friends, but they were already speaking French and everything. But complete foreigner who just arrived to France and with whom I could be friends, I cannot think about anyone. So I also feel you live a different life if you are local in a place or if you are a foreigner, and it's simply more difficult to connect with locals. That's also my conclusion, and it's valid for other countries than Germany. I think also Germany would play. It's also the fact that the country, it's a bit more cold in winter, it's a bit more dark, so maybe in general people go out less than in Spain or Italy, for example. So you have less opportunity to do activity outside. Yeah.
And since you mentioned that, how is the weather for you? The German weather?
Yes, good question. So Germany, I was always aware that moving to the country, Germany is not known for its amazing weather with the sand, beach, and sun. No, it's more the rough winter, and I think it's also depending from where you come from in the first place. So if you come from the north of France, in my case, I would have not been too disappointed because it would have been the same, but I'm coming more from the south of France, so I come from a very sunny place, good weather, and I arrived to Germany and I realized, okay, even though I knew it, to really experience that, yes, in average you have less sunny day, in average it's more cold, in average they are shorter because you are more in the east. This was actually very difficult, and it's still very difficult, and it's one point that is important to consider depending from where you come from, because you might end up, for some people that I know, homesick because of the lack of good weather. I mean, the winter is usually a bit long for my taste. So where I'm from, maybe after 4 or 5 months, the winter is already, you already get the sunny day of the summer. But here in Germany, I feel the winter can really be extended 6, 7 months sometime. And you have only 4 months, 5 months of okay weather. And I think it's also depending from where you come from in the beginning. So if you come from UK or Poland, maybe the weather in Germany is not too shocking. Or if you come from Sweden, then maybe Germany look like a paradise in terms of weather, because then it has more light and it's warmer. So you are German, so what's your view on the weather? Do you ever get used about it, or it's still, even for a German, sometimes difficult?
It's true that even after so many years, and since I'm now an adult and everything, I'm still not used to the German winter especially, or to colder autumn or spring days. It's true that even today, I've lived nearly all my life in Germany, I cannot acclimatize in the end. I think what is important to know about the weather in Germany is that there are really the 4 seasons. So what you need to be aware of, there's spring with the green leaves, there's summer, which is very short, and summer can be, usually I would say, because even in May it can be cold. So in my mind, and even in June or in July, sometimes it's cold and rainy.
That's true.
So it's difficult to say, but I would say summer is, in my eyes in Germany, middle of June or even beginning of July until beginning of September. So I would say it's even 2 to 3 months when I really think about it. And even in that period, it's not always warm, and it can rain a lot, especially in the south of Germany or in the north of Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Even local people, it's a
Yeah,
bit difficult for them.
I think.
Okay.
But it's, yeah.
Yeah. No, then I had actually a question for you. So now you launched this channel. It's the first live that we are doing, that you are doing, and the idea is to propose this kind of live more regularly. So now it's the first one we have. So we have to also get used of a setup
Yes.
and things like this. But before closing this call, can you give us a bit some context about what you plan to do with this channel in general? To whom is it targeted, and what can some people expect if they watch your content?
Yeah, so I have started this channel last year when I was in a phase of professional changement, and I was thinking it would be good, yeah, to launch it because, so as we had mentioned, when I was a student myself, I had the first contact with internationals, and I got to know a lot of people who moved to Germany, and I was then aware of what they are struggling with. And I had the first time I had this perspective of someone who has not grown up here and what can be major obstacles. And so I thought it can be a good idea to start a channel with really practical advice. And what I didn't mention, but it's also true, is that half of my friends approximately are anyway foreigners, even until today that I met at university or in my job. So I also have their perspective. And when I started the channel, it was the first time I did YouTube videos, so it was a new thing for me. And it's very exciting until today. And I decided to talk a lot about different topics that can concern foreigners. So I want to talk to people who are considering to move to Germany, so who have not yet moved, who don't have a job yet, but also to people, for example, who already have a job offer in their hands, or people who are already installed in Germany and who are dealing with the daily German life or German work, for example. So, for example, I do videos about topics like, for example, the visa, how to go to Germany, how to find a job, but then also like videos about really daily life in Germany. So, for example, I did a video about e-scooter because I also thought there's not so much information even available, especially not in English. So that's why I decided to do a channel in English, because I want to also target people who don't speak German properly. Yeah, and
Okay.
I want to continue.
So as a foreigner, it's a good place to get some nice information in English about settling in Germany and knowing about the concrete rules, and that's nice.
Settling and living in Germany. Yeah, exactly.
So let's end this call for today.
Yes.
Maybe you have a last word. My last word would be that if some people are interested for this live, they can leave comments about the next topic, because the point is also that you do this for your audience. So if they come with what they would expect the next live, then it can be nice to discuss what the audience is interested. But what will be then your last word?
So it was a very nice live with you, Cedric, today. I'm very glad that I had you to really have the perspective of a real expat in Germany. And yeah, it's true, in case if you have any questions, please feel free to write a comment below this live stream or below any of the videos. Otherwise, I also have an Instagram channel where you can send a direct message if you prefer this. And yeah, it's true, if you have any topic suggestions, feel free and drop them to us. And hopefully we will have some more live streams together.
Thank you. See you.
See you soon.